election season, and our politicians certainly seem to be thinking that they have a license of free tongue, which means that you say anything, you're going to get away with it, and the voters won't just care. In more cases than none, what they're actually doing is catering to what they think is their constituency. I'm Pallavi Ghosh, and this week's One Take asks these questions that it's all very well to focus on your core vote bank, but shouldn't the concerns of your constituency, the pressing needs, the urgent requirements of infrastructure be your priority? Let's begin with AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi, the man who's been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons of late. His strong comments, which are often being criticized as being communal, divisive, and both the sides, whether it's the BJP, which is attacking him for what they say he's trying to polarize elections in states like of Uttar Pradesh, the Congress party and other smaller political parties are actually criticizing Owaisi for being a B team of the BJP. They say his words, which you are hearing, are the ones which are actually helping the BJP to polarize, build up a pro-Hindutva agenda of the BJP. But now let's take a look at what his concern should ideally be, constituency of Hyderabad. Now this is one constituency which is perennially affected by floods. If you look at the city, and most of us have travelled to Hyderabad for example, it's amazing to see that someone who is high profile as Owaisi, who can be easily recognized, the streets and bylanes of Hyderabad is recognized for all the wrong reasons. As I said, frequently affected by floods. There's water which has been stagnant over there. Roads are breaking down. There are huge potholes. When was the last time you actually heard Owaisi about talking about these basic civic concerns? When was the last time he actually held a press conference where he criticized the local authorities? He raised this issue with the state government, with the central government, that I require more funds, more facility. When was the last time you actually saw Owaisi roaming around the bylanes of his constituency, meeting up with the people and asking them, what is it that you want beyond these religious concerns that he keeps on raising? But Owaisi is not alone. Politicians after politicians belonging to almost every political party actually can be picked up for this. I'm going to take the example of, say, Narottam Mishra, MLA from Datia in Madhya Pradesh. Again in the news, why? Because he demanded that action should be taken against Sunny Leone because she sang this song of Madhuban Mein Radhika Nache Re. He's saying this is completely obscene, it's outrageous, and this is something which should be taken cognizance of and there should be strict action taken against. Fair enough, maybe that's his belief, maybe he's addressing his constituency. But what do his voters and constituents want? Take a picture of his constituency. Again the same problem. Bad roads, bad network, water stagnating, which is giving rise to so many illnesses, and these are the pressing concerns which perhaps Mr. Mishra should actually be more bothered about. But of course, he's more bothered about the songs being sung by our actors, which is a license to creativity and which actually should not be the priority number one. This just reinforces my point of view and something which many of us as voters feel that we can understand. Politicians will also have to address their core constituency. They have to take concerns of their voters. Very often they make these outrageous and controversial comments because it attracts attention. But at the end of the day, what are they voted into power for? They are voted on the promise of development. They are voted on the promise of commitment to their voters, better facilities for them. But year after year, months after months, this is exactly what they are facing. No fulfillment of that commitment, no intention also fulfillment of that commitment. Okay, now let's talk about another Neta who's in the news, for example, Tejasvi Surya. Young, leader of the BJP youth wing and someone who's very articulate, someone who's considered to be very well-read. Again, he got caught into a controversy when he spoke about the return of the Hindus. Those who have got converted into other religion, they should come back into Hindutva. And not only that, he said we need to make Hindu religion very powerful. Of course, he came out with a retraction. He tweeted to say that his comments have been misconstrued and therefore it should be taken back. His constituency, Bengaluru South, and we don't even have to tell you, many of the people who are watching this show must actually be from Bengaluru. And the list of programs are huge. Slush on the roads, bad roads, potholes. Whenever it rains, Bangalore seems to be flooded. Frothing, foaming lakes. Are these issues which are being taken up by our MLAs, by our members of parliament? How often do they speak inside the parliament where I'm just standing outside, raising their concerns and issues about the constituency? What are they actually remembered for? What are the words which grab the maximum eyeballs? Well, it's usually these kind of comments, because I guess he's catering to his vote bank, the Hindutva vote bank of the BJP, which actually must be suiting his political agenda. But isn't this also a part of your agenda as a politician, to give priority to your local leaders? Okay, now I'm going to shift focus to yet another politician, which is Azam Khan. Now, Azam Khan is considered to be the child of controversy. You know, repeatedly getting into one controversy after another. He's accused of being divisive, trying to break the secular fabric. But see, look at the kind of community he comes in from, the minority community. And in the hustle and bustle of elections in Uttar Pradesh, I think this kind of polarization tends to, kind of help both the sides, whether it's the BJP or whether it's a party like the Samajwadi Party, or those who have substantial amount of minority vote bank, or those who have an eye on the minority vote bank. But have you ever bothered to go to his constituency in Rampur? It's got a huge heritage. It's got a huge historical legacy. Unfortunately, past is all that city seems to be living on. The present is very unfortunate. The present is very, very disappointing. I remember once when I traveled to Rampur, we were all very excited because we wanted to go and see the palace there. People talk about the food in Rampur, so on and so forth. But when you go through the by-lanes of Rampur, it is unfortunate. It is very sad to see. Basic facilities. For example, I remember my driver who was driving me down to Rampur was complaining about the fact, and he incidentally happened to be from there. He said he wanted to take his child at around 11 p.m. the night with a very high fever of 103, 104. He said, "Maine pura shehar chhaan mara. I never found a doctor because they're all gone off for home." They're very poor health infrastructure. But this is just one issue there. Again, the slush, the dirt, no one bothers to clean up, which usually gives rise to so many illnesses. Water accumulating whenever it rains, basic sanitation facilities, schools, hospitals, all of these are some concerns which very often Azam Khan perhaps does not even talk about. So whenever we hear him speak, it's what he says controversially, what he says to address his vote bank which registers. What unfortunately doesn't seem to be registering the fact that he needs to be giving priority to his vote bank. The people who vote for him, the people who vote for these Netas are actually voting them on a promise. I know there's a kind of a community vote which actually goes to voting for these kind of politicians. And every politician, and is hamam mein sab nange hain, and everyone is equally guilty. Every politician obviously has to address his vote bank. But in this eye on the ballot box, with this focus on winning votes, unfortunately what loses out is the voters' real concerns. And that's why this week, as we are possibly heading into critical state elections in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Punjab, I'm going to try and bring the focus back on what should be the real issues. Do they really matter to these politicians? What is happening when they make these kind of comments? They manage to win over perhaps their vote bank. They also help the political party that they belong to. For example, when Tejasvi Surya speaks like this, I guess the leaders of the BJP must be happy because this fits into the BJP's Hindutva agenda. When an Owaisi makes a comment like this, or when an Azam Khan makes a comment like this, it only helps their agenda. I remember when I was covering the Bengal elections, Owaisi would make a lot of comments which many were seeing were trying to make an intrusion into the minority vote bank, which was considered to be the stronghold of the Trinamool Congress. He was being called a vote katua, or someone who was actually cutting across the votes of the Trinamool Congress. And what happened? He never spoke about the local issues. He would travel from Hyderabad to different parts of Bengal, Malda, Murshidabad. He would not actually raise the issues on the ground, that this is what my party is going to offer you. I'm going to change the basic infrastructure on the ground. He would not even talk about that. He would only talk about how the minorities are being threatened, how the state government, how the Trinamool Congress was actually not even concerned about them. The Congress was only doing lip service, so on and so forth. I don't think things are going to change. Unfortunately, the social fabric, the political fabric in a country has become such that these are the weapons which our politicians and Netas use to strengthen their case. And unfortunately, it's at the cost of the basic concern of the voters. city after city, constituency after constituency. For example, when you look at, say, Rampur, when you look at Hyderabad, when you look at, say, South Bengaluru, all of them are crying out with a need for attention. But our politicians' attention is very much elsewhere. Do give in your reactions. This is an election season. We're going to be touching upon on these issues. We're also going to be raising issues on what you think should be the issue for our politicians. And therefore, give us your feedback. Thank you so much for watching.